Hey guys, thanks for coming to hang out here on the sessions. A friendly reminder that you can hang out with me in more than one place because I'm also on AMP. Just download the app, come hang out with us Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Just get a little more sessions in your life. We all need it. And a 1 and a 2. Samoa Joe, first of all, you don't look really thrilled to be here right now.
I'm ecstatic. This is one of the best times I could have used here right now.
You're just sitting in a dark room.
I'm very sad.
How are you? What's going on? Thanks for doing this. Do you know how bad, it's funny having a podcast where I have guests twice a week, but booking people, I always feel bad asking people to do it because I know time is precious. Is precious. Off time is precious.
Yeah, and then we already have to have that initial conversation with you just to get, and then it's like, oh, another one.
I know, right? So yeah.
No, come on, Renee. You know.
Well, listen, I know that's why I was like, oh, I'll pester Joe because I can pester Joe, and I'll get him to pop on here. But what? Okay, so what does an off day look like for you? What did today? What did you do today?
Well, today was nice. Like I said, an off day is kind of rare these days, but woke up, hit the pool, did a cold dip.
And your new did you get the thing?
I did. It's awesome.
Yay.
I really enjoy it. Did a nice little cold dip, got my mind right and my punishment done for the day. Hit the gym, came back, had lunch, little fun noodle soup, and called it waiting for the games to start,
Okay, let's get the party started. I feel like on those reset days, today was one of those days for me where I was like, oh, so our house is being completely remodeled right now, essentially. And I'm sitting in a dirt pile. For anyone that's not watching on YouTube right now, I'm sitting in a pile of rubbish. Had to work out, I had to shower. I brushed my hair for you. This is fresh new hair.
I can tell those ends finally came together, which I'm really happy about.
They finally came together. But anyways, I feel like it was a little mental clarity day, and then my computer took a shit on me. So now I'm back to ground zero of having a meltdown, which I love. I love those days.
Which is always, well, I think what people don't understand is if you had to describe your normal week in the wrestling industry or whatever, it's pretty much you take your entire life and condense it to 2 or 3 days. Your home life, and you got a baby time, groceries, laundry, everything that you need to get done, you got to get done.
Okay, so how do you balance that? Because I will say, I feel some weeks I feel like I'm getting a good grasp on it, but you've been in the wrestling world much longer than I have. You've had kids much longer than I've had. You've been married longer than I have. You've got a leg up on the entire situation. So how do you balance it?
You get a maid first off. You'll find, so you get a good, awesome maid. You pay her very, very well, and I mean, literally, I think just the biggest thing is that, you realize with your time being away from home, I mean, it's just, it limits your ability just to get normal life done. So, I mean, you take shortcuts where you can. Other than that, it's just we kind of got especially laundry. I think laundry is the biggest wrestler hang up. I think you being married to one, you know what the deal is. I mean,
God.
That stuff comes out of that bag pretty ripe and rough. So,
it's never ending.
And it's never ending, especially when you add kids in the equation who, I got a couple boys that, act like shirts are worth 15 minutes worth of time, and they strip them off, they got something else on. So it's the conveyor belt never stops. But I think the biggest thing is just communication is big, understanding, how much your significant other can get done during the week, and how much you can get done.
Well, because Jess works too. Your wife also works. So she is busy. She is up at the crack of dawn getting things done.
Yeah, she works full time. She's a teacher, loves it. And, it's her passion. So it's we definitely needed to sit down, kind of strategize and figure out what we can get done, what we can't get done, and what we can't get done. Well, you gotta bite the bullet and find somebody to help you come get it done.
What tips you over the edge? Is there something when you're home, if it's this is messy, or the gas is not in the car, or there something like that pushes you over the edge?
All of the above. I think because it all annoys you. You know what I mean? You get home, it all makes you angry.
Yeah.
But as the years go on, you start to realize, all right, I can't be mad about everything when I get home.
Yeah.
Self-miserable. So you just kind of, all right, you don't mind stuff as much. But I think my big thing is you do not ever, I don't care if it's a life or death emergency, never take the chargers out of my bag.
Oh my God.
Do not touch the tech in the
rage.
bag. There's nothing that makes me more angry than arriving somewhere, digging in that bag, and then just knowing you have to walk over to the Newport News and buy some $80 charger that's junk. You know, like it's just, I think that's the biggest. That's the only really thing now. Everything else flows off me. But that one thing, man, if you greatly hinder my travel progress, that's instant heat.
That is infuriating, especially if you're just missing the plug and you're like, can I plug my thing into the TV? Is there like going to be one of those switches where you can just not like omit the USB port? Oh my God.
And let's be honest, like the majority of USB ports in hotels and or airports are mad sketchy. Like you don't want to plug anything. I mean, they look rough. You know, I mean, they look like they got like a cough and wheeze when you look at it. Like the USB ports are all jacked up. It's not really the healthiest thing you can put your phone through.
I don't think that I've ever actually seen you mad. And what's funny is that like, so while I was like thinking about like things to talk to you about during the duration of this hour-long interview on your day off, you are one of the most scariest men when you switch to walking out the curtain. When you are walking to the ring and you're beelining and you are in Samoa Joe mode, I stay the hell out of your way. I know you pretty well. And you're like one of the sweetest, nicest men, which usually the most.
But you also know I can't wait for an opportunity to check you into the boards. You know, just kind of put you up against the wall. You know?
But I always think it's like the most dangerous guys in the room that don't have to like over exude themselves to let people know that they're a bad motherfucker. They don't have to do that, and that is you. But I've never seen you like ever actually mad. I would love to see that from a distance.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's because you met me a very later version of me, which is maybe kind of toned down a bit. And understands the impact of his actions. Has been told that, you know, when I flip out, everybody kind of goes on high alert and it gets weird real fast. So it's like, I mean, that's basically it. I've learned how much trouble comes with outbursts, and trust me, I've probably been prosecuted to the hilt whenever I've popped off and gone crazy and stuff. So I mean, I just a lot of hindsight is really what it is.
Okay. So back to the rage. Because so I met you. Obviously, I met you when you started at NXT, your time in WWE, blah blah blah. We can get into that stuff in a second. But prior to that, there was what was Angsty Joe like? What kind of trouble are we talking here? Are we talking like trouble, or just like bratty outbursts?
No, I mean, both. You know, like I can't really. I mean, for context, I think I'm probably the most fined and suspended guy in TNA history. Maybe not by this point.
Really? Yeah. Oh my gosh! Wait, for what? Like, what kind of things were you doing? I don't know these stories.
You know, I just get upset at things, and I just wouldn't handle the right way. You know, I flip out. Well, here's the thing: it's never physical. You know, I've never assaulted anybody, never threatened anybody's life, or that's not into me. But I think if anybody's been around when I'm, which I guess you have, when I'm hot and I'm shouting about things, I'm told it's like very terrifying, and it seems very like violence is about to pop off and stuff. So, I mean, I think that's really the gist of it. And it was like, I remember at the time too, it was like anytime I had a big pop off and like somebody else would have something similar, like I was always punished way more. And it was like, well, you're just scarier. It's like, all right, cool. You know, like.
Well, I guess if you're scarier, but also if you were doing it more often, you would already, you overstepped the boundaries enough already. You were already in the deficit.
Yeah. And I think that was kind of the thing. So, I mean, after a while, I just realized it was pretty pointless because they were all betting on me to flip out and then punish me.
Well, I'm glad that I met the more mellow Joe, because I truly cannot even imagine this. Now I feel like I missed out. I'm gonna have to like bring somebody else on to like just tell the tales of Samoa Joe losing.
Well, I think another reason too is just like I've had a tremendous opportunity to kind of be in there and to kind of roll around with and mess with some of the baddest dudes in the world, and that's humbling really, really quick. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You get loop chugged about 3 or 4 times the same way, and the guy tells you it's coming. I mean, it has a tendency to make you kind of have some clarity on what's a real dangerous situation.
A good little checkpoint every now and then.
Yeah. Hey, it all works out.
We all need one every now and then, a little danger in your eye. Okay, let's take things back to early days, Joe, because you are from a family of performers. You've been an entertainer your entire life. What's it like growing up with a family of performers and just kind of being bred into that environment?
Pretty wild, I think the transition to pro wrestling is probably the easiest thing I've ever done in life, just because it's the same concept.
Yeah.
It's gigging, it's going out there. And I mean this in the gig sense, not the other way. Some of the
We're not bleeding.
Yeah. But, it's gig mentality. It's just, you go out there, you book yourself out, do your night's work and, collect your paycheck and travel home. And, I'd been on the road and with my family performing full time. And that's like, 3 or 4 shows a week, since I was 5. So
at like summer games, is that right?
Yeah, that was my first like dancing debut. Was my father made a terrible miscalculation on how quick the girls could get to and from the 50-yard line, make a costume change, and get back out there for the next number. And the girls, they did their first routine and we're drumming in the background, and they made their way off the field. And my dad looked and realized, okay, 10 seconds going by, 15 seconds. Oh, we're starting to lose the crowd. So he pretty much grabbed me. I was 5 at the time, threw me over the front.
You're cute. You get out there.
Yeah, solo. I remember stall. Like it wasn't like go get him, kid. Go get him, tiger. He's just like stall. And so went out there wide-eyed, terrified, did my thing. Walked back. I think something like 60,000 people in the LA Coliseum, or however how much it holds. Don't quote me on that. And
like where we just were.
I never had stage fright after that again. It was just like legitimately, like I've never been scared to go up in front of people, never whatever. Cause it was like, after that, it was just shock therapy. It was like, there you are.
No more adrenal glands. Who needs them?
Yeah.
Get out of here. Okay. So working with your family though, what are, I guess, like the pros and cons of seeing entertainment through their eyes, learning entertainment through their eyes, and then kind of making the foray into professional wrestling?
The pros are definitely like understanding performance, understanding what an audience is, looking at, what they want comparatively to what you think they want. Understanding, like I said, stage presence, poise, knowing to take your time in front of people because it attracts attention. It doesn't deflect it. It's a lot of like small things that are just stage presence issues, like immediately translated pro wrestling. It was a very easy transition for me. And then, from my brothers and sisters' perspective, I mean, they're all extremely talented. My brother still runs the show to this day in Southern California. And, like I said, they were all very, very high-end Polynesian entertainers. So it was like, I was always kind of striving towards that. And then when I got to pro wrestling, it was a lot like finding my own thing, and kind of, as much passion as my brother had for the Polynesian dancing business, that's what grew for me as far as pro wrestling.
Okay, so you're with your family doing the Polynesian dance troupe. What was the twinkle in your eye to make the transition over to pro wrestling from that?
So I think pro wrestling is probably the only sport team type thing that me and my father watched together.
Okay.
And so, and I think generally everyone in my house kind of enjoyed it. They thought it was cool. And really, for a lot of Polynesians, pro wrestling was one of the few places, even before the NFL, where you saw actual Samoans on TV, which is wild. I mean, we're a small island in the South Pacific. It's crazy to think that. So it's like, off on Sika, we're like, Jordan and Pippen to a lot of like young Samoans growing up, because it was crazy to see, like, wow, we're maybe a small island that, everybody thought we were from Hawaii and stuff back in the day. And it's like to see that was always a big deal. So I think that's kind of what the attraction was initially, was just that it was cool seeing Polynesians on television there. And then, I think I just got to a point where my relationship with my father really suffered because of the show.
Oh.
The rest of my brothers and sisters kind of exited. Were doing their own thing at the time. It was just me and him and my cousins. And, it put a lot of stress and strain because, being my boss didn't stop when we got done with the show. You know what I mean? It was like, like imagine having a tyrant of a boss and, he's living in the room down the hall and he's on you 24 hours. So, I mean, like, because of that, like me and my dad's relationship suffered tremendously. And like, we had huge issues, and like, I didn't want to be part of the show anymore, and I was sick of it. And I was sick of being the last guy left. And whatever issues that he may have had, frustrations with my other family, he took out on me. Yeah. And it just manifested, in bad ways. And then when I made the transition to pro wrestling, and I explained to him, and obviously, I paid my fair share into the family pot every time I got my paycheck.
Sure.
He totally understood. and he got it. And he knew I was passionate about it. He knew I was good at it, and he couldn't have been more supportive. You know, it's like our relationship kind of like completely did a 180. He became my biggest supporter, my biggest fan. Was driving me to LAX in the morning at 5 a.m. to catch flights to the East Coast.
That's a favor if I've ever heard one.
I mean, no, and like diligently, like getting up, being like, you got to make this flight. You know, even I don't miss flights, but I mean, I remember a few where he woke me up and said, get your ass up, got to get you to flight.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that I always appreciate about pro wrestling was kind of a non intentional side effect, was that it really rebuilt the relationship between me and my father.
What about this sense of like Polynesian pride? I mean, you mentioned Afa and Sika, but looking at what's happening now, I mean, your career, incredible, obviously, and we'll delve into more of that stuff. But I mean, looking at stuff that's happening with like the bloodline and those guys being like, to see the career of those guys and where they're at, I mean, especially the Usos who have been in this game for such a long time. From The Rock. I mean, there's just so many prominent Samoan professional wrestlers. What is the sense of pride in that now?
It's overwhelming. Obviously, the stuff that the bloodline are doing great. The Usos are both real good friends of mine. Roman,
they're all right.
Good brothers. They're all good brothers, and I think for them, it's very much carrying on a legacy that their family started, years past, and really, carrying that legacy probably better than even their forefathers would have hoped. And, for me, I think it's just, it's very much in the same vein, just letting Polynesians know that they're, we're well represented out here in the sporting space.
Yeah.
And, and just continue to try to be like, a good, I guess a good beacon of hope for a lot of kids across the South Pacific that, a lot of things are possible.
Okay. So young Joe, 5 years old, being thrust into the spotlight at the Summer Games, your career through professional wrestling. I mean, you have been there and done so many different things, working different promotions, carrying championships, having all these amazing things. Now at 43?
Sounds about right. I think check Wikipedia.
I actually just hit that age where I go, I'm 30, I'm 35. No, bitch, you ain't. You're 37. Keep up. I'm mid 30s. No, you're actually late 30s. What is your relationship with performing now? You've been doing it for so long. And I mean, even outside of the wrestling world, I mean, now you're doing the voiceover work. You're doing so many different things. What is your relationship with entertaining now?
It is super measured, I think is the best way to describe it. Like, and I think you've seen it too. A lot of people do. Especially like you said, like I'm definitely like walk through the curtain, then it's on.
Yeah.
But previous to the curtain, and I think you can attest to this, I'm probably goofy as hell backstage or talking, thinking about anything but me walking out there.
Yeah, you're thinking of different ways to insult me. Derogatory terms.
I mean, that's like, breathing in and breathing out. But no, I think that's the biggest thing. Is it's just it's a lot more controlled. But it's just because of experience, it's just because I've been in that spot so many times and I've walked through that curtain so many times.
Yeah.
And I tell people like, oh, guys will be, you don't get to charge anymore. I go, no, the charge is there. It's just I know what it feels like. And
right.
It's
a weird thing though. Like, does that ever like affect you in a way that you're like, man, I wish? I guess you don't. It's not like feel like wishing.
Oh, absolutely. No, I wish I could get that buzz back, that nervous, my destiny's through this curtain.
I know. It makes me a little sad almost of like, man, but it's great. I mean, to be so lucky to have a career where you've been able to scratch so many of those itches and now to be able to look back on it in that way. But I know to like get that rush again.
Well, it's funny. Like I'll see guys now, especially in AEW, because there's just a lot of younger guys who are just kind of coming into their own, and I see it, and I see just that biting tension and just that, and I'm just like, oh man, I remember that feeling. It's like, it's funny because right now they're probably thinking it's terrifying and it's horrible and it's churning them and pulling them in all different directions. But at the same time,
they're done with it. And then they're done with it.
And then there's, it's this big release and they're all great and stuff. And I think that's what it is, really performance is essentially kind of a guided endorphin rush. And I think, I've been on the trip so much, it's just easier to guide those endorphins.
What would like your advice be to essentially the entire AEW roster? Because there is so many really young wrestlers. It is a young roster. What's your advice that you would give to people that are kind of just starting, just getting that television experience and kind of learning those ropes? I mean, even guys that are well-seasoned pro wrestlers that maybe don't have that television experience.
I think gauging your thoughts behind eliciting reactions from the crowd and how to get it, rather than, you know, just worrying about the minutia of what you're doing, and you know, like not worrying about the details, but worrying about the destination, I think is kind of what I'm getting at, where I feel like, you know, a lot of guys are really stuck on the technicality of what they're doing and not the reason why they're doing it. And I think that's my biggest, like, advice I would offer to anybody, you know, AEW, WWE, is just, you know, it's awesome that you can do it, but why are you doing it? And does the crowd understand why you're doing it? And does, you know, is the reaction of your opponent one that seems what would happen in that situation? I think just bringing that essence of reality to it, just having a reason for everything you do. You know, I hate the term less is more. I think it's kind of an open invitation to be really lazy, but I love saying, get the most out of everything you do.
Yeah.
I think that's just, I think it's a better way of saying that.
Squeeze that juice out, baby.
Yeah, get to the pith.
Yeah. Get it all out. Okay, so going from TNA into NXT, your entire run at NXT, to being on the main roster, to doing commentary, being released, being brought back, the ups, the downs. What was like the soul searching that was happening during those moments of just trying to figure out what is next, what you wanted to still kind of give back to the wrestling world at that point? Because I mean, I know you and I had you know, many conversations kind of in between some of those spots, but yeah, just sort of, I guess, like that uncertainty that comes with this life. And the injuries on top of that. You got some wacky injuries.
Oh, for
too.
sure. You know, and the concussion by far was probably the worst thing. But
yeah,
you know, in general, I think this what happened with TNA during that time to the transition to NXT was obviously very unique and very unusual. And I don't think what people understand back then was that, you know, there was pretty much like an edict, an unofficial edict in place that, like, you know, for the most part, most TNA guys, we don't want anything to do with them. You know, we're not going to deal with it. You know, AJ included, myself included.
Yeah.
And you know, for Hunter to take that type of chance and kind of go against internal dogma by the people that were there at the time, what was a big thing, you know, and he offered me a great initial deal.
Yeah.
And after that went well, he offered me a better one. I think he offered me like 2 more that were even better than that as we kept going. And then we were finally in business, like, properly full time. And yeah, I mean, for me, that was kind of just validation as far as, like, you know, all the work that I'd done was for naught, and, you know, the time spent and all that was all for good. And then, you know, being released from WWE the first time,
it was very bizarre.
It was very bizarre
from the outside, because I was already gone at that point. I was like, what the fuck? It just made no sense.
I deigned to say that initially there, as I understand it, unconfirmed, you know, there was issues between the 2 upper echelons of management, and they were playing out their war with the careers and the contracts of the people underneath them.
You were a chess piece.
So, you know, after the initial one, I mean, I didn't have much of a chance to grieve, because essentially I was hired back within hours. So,
because I think I was like, wait, can you do my podcast now? And you're like, nope.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
Yeah, I think I had to tell you good no, because I'm going to be back there pretty soon.
Yeah.
And then the second time, I just kind of chuckled, because I realized it was very much the same situation.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, I mean, I wasn't bitter or mad. I mean, the truth of it is, you know, really to and this is to give, you know, I guess WWE some credit, was that I was expensive. You know, I was expensive to keep around. And you know, and if, you know, cutting my contract, if they say that saved the company money, trust me, I believe it did. So like, I wasn't like hot about that. You know, it was like, it was just more just the silliness of the situation and what they were doing, and the reasoning why they were doing it. But which I can't, you know, you can never officially confirm, but I've heard it from enough people.
Cannot confirm nor deny.
But I've heard from enough people that have a pretty good idea. So including many of the people involved. So yeah, after that, it was kind of like, I think I spent a day kind of pissed. And like I said, more at the situation than the actual firing.
Sure.
And then like all these like super awesome opportunities literally materialized.
Isn't it crazy how that happens? That like, I feel like when you put in the work, which obviously you do, I feel like you kind of get met on the other end with all the
I can
other
confirm that
opportunities.
is absolutely the case. You know, like I really wish I could say it was some, you know, miracle stroke of luck, but it was just literally, it was kind of refreshing to see that a lot of the groundwork I laid and just, you know, just trying to treat people with respect and be kind and be open and you know, and it came back and visited me. The guy that, you know, I had met 15 years prior, and was a good, we had a mutual friend and we hung out, watched pay-per-views together a few times and stuff like that, you know, and he was, you know, he was kind of like just getting started out at New Line Cinema at the time and doing this thing. And then he gives me a call and he's, you know, a major producer at Sony Pictures. And he's just like, hey man, I got an opportunity for you. It's pretty crazy. You know, he goes, obviously, are you available? I said, yeah, sure. I'm available. It's just been made available. And he goes, you heard of Twisted Metal? I said, yeah, the video game PlayStation is great. He's like, sweet tooth. And I was like, oh, I'm in, let's do it. You know, like, so,
done. Yeah.
And so, he had me read for the part and they loved it. And the rest is history.
How was that experience of doing that for you? You had to go into the studio and do it?
We did actually a lot of location shooting. So we filmed up in New Orleans and a lot of crazy hot sweltering days out in the sun.
My God.
Various locales and driving crazy Mad Maxy rigged up with no AC cars, you know, and chasing each other in the desert. So it really, really cool from the Mad Max standpoint because you know, it's just awesome jumping and driving cars, but pretty crazy as far as you know, some of the crazy weather we dealt with down in Louisiana.
So did that kick in a little bit of a different, like, ooh, I'm doing something else? Did that give you any kind of a different, I don't want to say like nervous energy, but that like excited energy to be doing something different on a scale like that?
Yes. And it was kind of like refining that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, essentially like I've never professionally acted in at least in a television production, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I have a pretty good idea of what to do out there and with people. And then, you know, the first day you're kind of sitting across from Anthony Mackie and you're firing lines back and forth and, you know, these big long dialogues and, you know, I'm being dubbed over, but at the same time, you have to have the performance for the actors that are there.
Yeah.
And for me, I just looked at it as like, well, this is just free practice. You know, worst comes to worst, they'll fix it in post, but you know, I'm going to give my all. And then, you know, it was cool because as we got into the production, work with these guys, learned so much. You know, you're nervous every day because obviously you don't want to let anybody down. You want to make sure that you know all your lines.
Expensive.
Everything.
Time is expensive.
Time's expensive. And so that was my thing. I went in there and it was a no lose situation for me, and a well paid no lose situation. So I kind of took it for everything it was and just had a lot of fun with it.
So now what? What else? Like, what else can you look to? Like, did that, I guess, like whet your appetite for wanting to get into doing more stuff like that? And a little bit of a nice breather to not take some bumps for a while, right?
It always is.
Give the body a little break.
It always is. It does. It definitely enticed me. I mean, some other stuff I'm working on right now too, which is pretty cool. I can't because and stuff. But you know, aside from that, like just that between that and the voice acting for video games and stuff, it's just giving me a chance to be a different character.
Yeah.
After playing essentially the same one for over 20 years. So for me, that's just really exciting. It's cool just to kind of expand a little bit and do some other things, take some characters the other way. So that's the biggest benefit for me.
Well, I'm pumped for you to get to see these opportunities and see different things kind of come your way. Because hell yeah. It's like you plant those seeds and you wait for them to start to sprout to see what's going to take off, what's going to make sense. I really feel that for myself in the last couple of years as you like kind of drop a little seedling here and there. And then all of a sudden it's like, and it takes a while. It's never that overnight thing that just happens. It's kind of the patience that comes with that and like nurturing certain things to like.
And most good things do take a while. And that's to your point, I think is kind of what I've really learned is that, you know, I've some of the smaller moments in my life and the smaller interactions that I've had have paid off huge later on. Yeah. And I never expected them to, you know, I just was trying to be cool or say what's up or, you know, homie was righteous. All right, cool. You know, like, and a lot of that, whenever I've found myself in, I guess career peril has just immediately materialized and like come with a lot of great offers.
It's really funny. I always feel like that's kind of happened to me too. And I guess that's just like how the world works is anytime you feel like you're like backs against the wall a little bit, you're like, oh shit, what am I going to do? And then it's like the most random thing will come through or somebody emails you or somebody calls you and you're like, whoa, universe is weird. Not to get all like hippy dippy on it, but it is fucking tricky.
I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Okay, on the totally switching gears here. You like to send weapons to my husband.
Yes, I do. I do.
I would like to say I hate it. I don't hate it, but it does crack me up. If something just like comes to the house, it just says Mox on it. Odds are it's from you.
It's a sword, a battle axe.
Yes, which
the more ridiculous the weapon, the better I like to send it to Mom.
And that's what it is. It's not like some like run. It's like usually some like medieval time
halberd,
like some insane item. But yeah, from the what's the whip thing called again?
Shambok.
The Shambok. We have like 10 of those in the house now. There's a blow dart.
Yeah, I sent him the blow gun. Blow gun's awesome. I mean,
there's just so many ridiculous things. So you enjoy a good weapon. What else do you have in your garage? What kind of ridiculous items do you have that my husband has not been gifted yet so that I can prepare for these?
You sit next to me. I wish I could turn my camera. I have a bucket of weapons just sitting in this room right now.
Like just like a red rubber bucket?
In fact, I'll tell you so you can throw this in post. I'll take a picture of the bucket of weapons and you can put it up on the screen.
Great.
And it just is listen, I'm a big history buff. This is where it all started. I mean,
really?
I'm a huge history buff. I mean, I love, the great battles in history. I love, reading about how societies and civilizations, proceeded, migrated, conflicted, the whole nine. So, and one of the things is, when you talk about medieval battles and stuff like that, you don't really think about just how crazy it really was. So, you pick up a battle axe over here, let's say. And casually. you think, yeah, actually pick one off. Give me a second.
Let me grab my battle axe real quick. Okay, so
for instance, got here a nice little Viking bearded axe, and you say to yourself, "Wow, that's pretty cool." Now, do I go outside and hit stuff with this? No. Do I kill water bottles with it? I don't. Maybe I should. I hear it's pretty fun. But really, it's just it boggles my mind that somebody sat in a field for 2 hours swinging this at somebody else and lived. Like, that's just wild to me. So that's kind of how it started. It was like more of like a visceral appreciation of history. But as time went on, there's various people in my life I just like to send ridiculous weapons to, just because the conversation they have to have with their wives, like, why is there a broadsword on my front doorstep right now?
Wait, do you have other people other than John that you're sending these ridiculous things to?
No, John is currently the only guy right now.
Okay.
Yeah. There have been others in the past, but John is only the current guy that I send arms to right now.
Have you ever had any kind of incident where you've needed to call upon a weapon? I mean, I actually know the answer to this, but
this is what
tell it or not. It's up to you.
Well, this is how the whole Shambok thing got started.
It's a great story, guys.
Somebody had gifted me one, and I was like, "Oh wow, it's kind of a weird looking thing." And to give everybody an idea, it's basically a small medium. It's essentially a riot whip, and have a terrible history of South Africa and all this stuff, and it's a horrible weapon. But somebody decided to give me one. Of course, I decided to give one to John, but
a hell of a weapon.
So, I kind of had it and just had it in my closet. Didn't really think much of it. It was just kind of, oh, cool little thing. And I remember we moved into our new home, and this was my first son was just born. He was very, very tiny. And we're in our room and we're listening to the baby monitor. All of a sudden, we hear this clack, clack, clack. So I run into the baby's room. Nothing's wrong. I thought fell out of the crib something. This is like the old audio ones, by the way. Just for I know there's video surveillance and all this stuff now.
We're going old school.
Yeah, I'm like, where the hell is the sound coming from? Like, clack. And like, I look at my window and somebody's like, I see a chip in the window. And I open it up and there's this guy. He's basically in the middle of the street and he's just hucking rocks at people's windows. And, for whatever reason. And I remember I walked out of my house and, the guy's stumbling around, he's throwing stuff. And I looked and I go, hey, MFer, what are you doing? to which he stumbled over to me. By this point, I realized he's extremely inebriated. And he's like, "Oh, what are you gonna?" And he's kind of stumbling and mumbling. And I'm just waiting for him to cross the
I couldn't
property line.
imagine saying that to you, even
It's dark,
Sean's
though,
weapon.
to be sure. It's dark. You know, it's
Okay.
like, and I'm like peeking out the door, like, what are you? Then as I see him approaching, I'm like, oh, okay, you know, and just kind of waiting. I'm like, oh, it's probably just a drunk, you know, dickhead. What more can you do? And waiting to get on the property, And it was like, the minute he crossed the line, I said, hey, man, get off my property, get the F out of here. And to which he replied, hey, F you, blah, blah, blah. And I see him go down to pick up another rock, at which point I took 3 steps across with the shambach, cracked him in the collarbone, and he made this unholy noise, really bad noise. It was one of the roughest noises I've ever heard a human make. Kind of crumpled down into a pile.
Wait, he just like his voice making the sound, or the collarbone snapping sound?
No, I didn't snap his collarbone, I don't think, but
can't be.
The noise he made was, people shouldn't make that noise. So I mean, I'm like, oh, you know, I look down at him and he's on the ground, he's messed up, and my neighbor who's catty corner to me in law enforcement, retired, but he came out and you know, got the police involved. You know, it was all my cameras and stuff. You know, essentially the guy was just really, really drunk and not having the best night. And
you ended that quite quickly. Party's over, pal. Don't throw rocks at my kid's window.
It was like, you know, obviously not my proudest moment, but you know, hey, at least I can say I sampled and tried it out and it worked.
You took it for a spin, but you were protecting your castle with your newborn baby. I mean, you kind of, I don't think you really had many choices.
Well, he did come out. I mean, legitimately, it was like walking towards you like someone's gonna pop out. I'm like, you gotta be the dumbest cat. Then I remember they stepped around the pillar. I will say this: I have kind of like a little pillar issue in my front of my house, and as I kind of stepped out behind it, kind of tell he was like, oh boy.
No, thank you. I don't want any of this. Well, hey, keep the weapons coming. Is there anything that's on your radar of a weapon that you need?
Oh man, so many.
What's your most prized possession of the weapons? Is there one that's just like chef's kiss?
Oh, the blowgun, by far the most useful. But I mean, just really great, fun. It's one I use
really like. You can really
pinpoint.
Yeah, the accuracy on those things is quite. We actually, so our house in Vegas, we had a rat in our backyard, which is my truest nightmare.
Yes.
And John kept the blow dart in the yard, thinking that he was going to be able to get the blow dart out fast enough to take out the rat. It never happened, but he did have high hopes that was going. I got him like. No, he would have felt too bad doing it. There's no way he could have ever actually pulled the trigger to do that. He'd feel too bad.
So we had a rat issue out here where they were living in. I think we told you this, where they were living out in like a palm tree.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah. So I'm out on my balcony and I see this giant rat that we've been trying to like catch because it's been just chewing up like their screens.
Palm rats are gnarly, man. That's what we had in Vegas. They're horrible.
Yeah. So and I remember I had the blowgun, I had it out, and I had a bead on him, but he was at the top of the tree. And I hit him and I pinned him to the tree. And now I had like this little rat hanging in effigy. And I couldn't get him down because at the top of this palm tree. And then finally a buzzard came by and ripped him off and flew away with it.
God rest his sweet little rat soul. They're just the absolute worst. I got no love for the rats. Get out of here. Okay. Completely switching gears yet again, as I like looked at my notes of things that I wrote down to talk to you about. Necro Butcher. You're great stuff. It reminds me of, so I had never seen Samoa Joe versus Necro Butcher. And
John make you watch it?
John made me watch it. John made me watch it.
Was that the second date or the first date?
No, this was actually like this. So what's funny about this story is that it was actually right after he had left WWE. And he told me to watch it. And we're sitting at the airport and I tweeted about it. And I got in so much trouble for merely tweeting Samoa Joe versus Necro Butcher. I got in trouble for that. It's violence. It is pure violence.
Yeah. I mean, well, you know, good old Necro was, he didn't have the best eyesight in the world. He had a lot of enthusiasm. So that usually makes for a rough night when it comes to those punches flying in. So yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like maybe it was because it was just a different internet back then, and there wasn't the instant feedback of Twitter. Like
right.
But I thought it was a cool match and it was fun, and like people dug it, and the hot crowd, and everybody was wild about it. And fast forward 10 odd some years, and I'm seeing like papers being written on it and people doing their dissertations on it. Like,
oh my God.
making all these, no, I think there literally is like somebody's dissertation to graduate.
Fantastic.
Samoa Joe versus Necro Butcher, and really adding so many layers of context, which I had no intention to be there, but they interpreted it that way, so it's cool.
Great art. It's art.
Yeah. I mean, wow, I felt like a real artiste after I got done reading it. But yeah, I mean, it's a brawl. That's the best way I can describe it. It's just
hellacious.
It's just distilled down to what it needs to be. Two guys trying
so
to knock
violent. I couldn't even tweet about it. I didn't even add a graphic. I didn't even add a photo or nothing. That's all I said, and I got in trouble for it. What stands out to you as some of the programs that you're most proud of that you did through your whole career? I mean, God, there's so many to think of, but like, what are the ones that you really kind of harken back to?
A lot of stuff to do with AJ, any company or any form has always been great. I think he's a guy, I think we finally figured it out. We've probably the guy I worked the most in my career. The stuff with Chris Daniels early on ROH, Kurt Angle, TNA, Brock and WWE, those are kind of things that stand out, where it was like really engaging programs with guys who just want to go out there and tear the place down. So it was, those were all really fun to me.
Is there anything that you like? Is there any kind of like thing you didn't get to turn over, like some other kind of match you wanted to have, someone you wanted to wrestle? I mean, now when you look at the roster of AEW, like I said, there's so many new guys, there's young guys, there's different styles, et cetera, et cetera. We're having so many more guys come in from Japan, all that. Is there anybody that you really want to kind of tie it up with out there?
I can kind of name off a laundry list of dudes who would kind of fit that bill, but like where I'm at now, it's like whoever you put me in front of, whoever you put me with, I want to make that awesome.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, I don't think there needs to be perfect ingredients to make the best dish. I just think you got to have the right, you just got to treat them right, and cook them the right way. So I mean, that's kind of where my mind's at right now. Like it's definitely not on, oh, I want this dream match and I want that dream match. No, I want whoever they put me with, I want to turn that into something. I want something they don't expect to be a dream match to be something that they really, really enjoy. And we kind of got that started here with Darby Allin. I think on paper, before we ever locked up, that matchup doesn't seem like it's just because of whatever preconceptions that you may have with either one of us. And kind of getting there now after 2 matches, going into our third here. I think that opinion and that view of it is very, very different. And now it's something that's kind of sought after. People want to
do you feel any kind of responsibility with your position in AEW and all the experience that you have to really get some guys to, I guess, like a passing of the torch, so to speak, with some of those guys, or getting people in like that sweet spot, or like setting that locker room standard? Because wrestling, grizzled old vet over here, it has changed a lot in the last little while, but what do you like? Do you feel any responsibility to sort of set the standard, whether it's in the ring, in the locker room, et cetera, et cetera?
Setting the standards, it's unusual for me to think of it that way, because it means that you're kind of setting a ceiling on certain people. To me, like my thing is, I'd rather go in there and work with people and then have them discover things, 2 or 3 things or something about a way of doing a program, a different way to skin the cat, to use a horrible phrase, but
I kind of like that phrase. I know it's a weird phrase, but I do always kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, but like, I think that's my biggest thing, is that if I can work with guys and show them different ways of kind of accomplishing what they want to accomplish, alternative ways, and that's kind of my big thing. I don't think there's one right way to do things. Yeah, I think it's pretty egotistical to think that there is, but I do believe there are some proven methods that can work and that can be integrated into what people do. And that's kind of been my biggest thing. Is I'm not trying to tell people how you're supposed to do things, but I will offer some alternatives and other ways to do things. And that's really what my focus has been, is just trying to expand their mind a little bit along with mine, and put together good matches. Hell
yeah. You and I were watching Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal at TV the other week. What are some of your memories of Jay Briscoe? I know you got to obviously be a part of so many different things with Ring of Honor, and I saw the video package and stuff that AEW put together, but some memories that you have of Jay Briscoe.
I think the biggest memory of Jay, and I think, like I said, why a lot of us were, really floored by this, is that, Jay was a guy who unconditionally loved people. You know what I mean? Like, he'd come in and it didn't matter if you're having a good day or a bad day. He was always there to be like, hey, how you doing, man? And, dap you up, give you a hug. You shoot the bull with them. What happened down at the chicken farm, which is always wild stories. You know what I mean? Like, they always had hey, what's been going down on the farm? Oh man, and it was just like, I think that was the biggest thing, is just, Jay was extremely authentic.
Yeah.
To everyone, and like I said, we're all gonna miss him, just because just the fun, the hilarity, like the good times after the show, the great matches. It's just, all that kind of goes away. It leaves a big void. And I think that's why it hit a lot of people so hard.
Yeah. I know it's funny. The first time I saw the Briscoes, I'm really sad that I didn't ever get to work with them in any capacity. It's nice I've only met Mark for the first time when we were at TV the other week. But just a huge fan, and obviously such a huge loss to the wrestling community. Okay. So we're early on in the year. What do you want to accomplish this year? What does 2023 look like for Samoa Joe?
Obviously we're always hunting championships. And, when we get our television championship back, and our TNT title back together. And, I'm just looking forward to, just, honestly, I'm at a point now where I'm having a lot of fun, especially at AEW. And, I just want to put things out that just make people happy. I think that's the biggest thing. I think we as performers, sometimes we get caught up in our own BS, a little bit too much. And I think, sometimes we don't present ourselves in the best possible way in the public eye, knowing that, we provide a service. We're out there to entertain people, and to make people happy. And a lot of that is, kind of keeping up our own appearances and stuff like that. And though, while I don't tell everybody never to, hide your feelings or suppress your feelings, I think sometimes we share too much. They don't need to know that me and Delta got a beef on Thursday. Like, that's going to fix anything. Because trust me, I've seen everybody try to do it, and they do not move any faster if you call them out on social media. That's it's like, so, I mean, that's kind of my thing. I'm keeping it very positive, in the sense that, I've been blessed and fortunate to be in a career where I get to go out and entertain millions of people every week. And, I've managed to stay in this career for much longer than what is expected. And, I just want to continue to do that at the very best level that I can.
It just made me think of you joining AEW, because I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I feel like you were maybe at a point that you were considering maybe hanging up the boots. What was it about AEW that made you want to keep going? If that was the case, maybe I'm wrong.
All the money they threw at me. I mean, I immediately threw all my morals away and all my
Hey, we got to get paid. I mean, you already said you come at a steep price.
Yeah.
So.
I was. I was legitimately thinking about hanging it up. For health reasons. Obviously still coming out with concussion, and still, dealing with just the very, end effects of that, and getting back in the ring healthy, and transitioning back to in a physical state where it's like, I could do something for a good period of time, and not want to pass out,
right.
That was an issue. So it was
what was that like, being at home, kind of struggling with that? Because again, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I know you got hurt in the ring, but then you also got hurt on a shoot as well, right?
Shoot. Yeah. Essentially, the table didn't break like it was supposed to.
Right.
And I basically caught 2 concussions very close together, which is terrible.
Yeah.
To that point, though, I did take a year off doing commentary, little maybe a year and a half off, which helped me tremendously. And I do not regret taking that time. I wouldn't change it for anything. That allowed me to get healthy, get my mind back together, get back into a place where I felt confident even doing anything physical. And I realized if I would have rushed out and would have done that, I probably inevitably would have not returned to the ring at all. So I am happy I handled that well, despite wanting to kind of get after it and like fighting those feelings. But
when you say you handled it well, like what you were just like happy to be doing what you're like, you were happy to be in the commentary position. You're happy to still like be in the fold of things. Were there some internal struggles of what that was like? Cause I mean, getting into the commentary world, as I can attest to, is like, it can be a doozy. It can be a lot. And transitioning into that when I'm sure you're used to being on like the physical side of things, was it hard to call matches when you want to be out there doing it? Or was it just kind of fun to flex that new muscle?
No, I think if anything, the hardest part about commentary is like a man in your ear. I mean, you can tell you, I mean, you can attest to that. And it's just because, he's very exacting. He wants what he wants, and that's, no beef with that. I mean, I get it.
Sure.
But I mean, that was the only difficult part about commentary. Everything else, being descriptive, talking about what's going on in the ring, the action. I just thought about what I'd want people to say about me when I was in there.
Right.
And that really was kind of my main focal point is like, if I'm, so-and-so, how would I want to be talked about if I was in the ring? If I was on top and I was putting on pressure and beating up this guy, how would I want that described? And really, that's kind of the mindset I took into it. I wanted to enhance whatever performer was in that ring. I wanted to enhance how they appeared in the eye of the fan, and that was really kind of the only thing that I really had, the only singular concept I kind of tried to keep in my mind while I was doing it. But I enjoyed it. It was a great time. I was working with great people. Michael Cole is probably a guy that is really unheralded.
Oh my God. What a guy. I feel like I talk about how much I love Michael Cole all the time, but like he's truly
I gained so much respect for Michael Cole and seeing what he actually does for the company.
Oh yeah.
Like, and it goes far beyond the camera and whatever. And, seeing what he has to put up with and seeing what he has to deal with. And, I realized this is a man who like anybody else in the world would have broke under the pressure that he's put under consistently week after week after week. And, just he was a big help too. Cause like he fully believed in me. Did everything he can to put me in the best position to succeed. And I mean, he made that transition very easy.
He's the best. While we're talking about you on commentary, I would be remiss to not bring up the braid. Why did you lose the braid? Can we bring the braid back? Because I was a fan.
So braid was lost because of Twisted Metal.
Oh,
we had to go shave.
Because with a head of hair like that, not a lot of guys are lucky to have the follicles that you have. And I feel like it's a little bit of a slap in the face to just get rid of the beautiful hair.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I shore my locks and I walk around. No, I'm a little rusty in the back there too now these days. But I think throughout my career I've had a bevy of wild hairstyles. So and it runs the gamut from shaved head to mohawks to color red mohawks to all kinds of stuff. So my hairstyle is really just how I'm feeling that week. I mean, I make weird decisions and I come home and my wife just stares at me and go, "Why do you have a green mohawk right now?" Like
how does your wife react to like watching you wrestle and stuff now? Like, how has her relationship with your career changed over the years?
Nothing bothers her.
Yeah.
She just knows me and like she knows when I'm hurt. It's amazing. She's better than most people in the business. Like she can tell when I'm hurt and I'm not. And like, there's some things I've taken where she's just been like, everybody in the room thought I was dead. And she's like, he's fine. And then there's times where I'm legitimately hurt and I'll get a text from her. You're hurt, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a grizzled old vet. Like, what can I say? She's seen it all. I mean, and like I said, she's known me for years, even before my career. And, seeing me bloody, bruised, cut up, sliced up has been the majority of her time seeing me in life. So it's just really no surprise.
All that for her. That just reminded me of the time that I got kicked in the face on commentary. You were the only person. You're like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
You texted me. You're like, "What the fuck?"
Did you just get kicked in the head, dude? Is your dome cool?
Fucking got my ass. Slow-mo that shit. And I didn't even get a bloody nose. Some bullshit. Anyways, listen, I could have you on here and shoot the shit with you all day and probably tell a bunch of stories that we shouldn't tell. But I will let you go back to your off day. I appreciate you jumping on here with me. And I'll see you in Dayton.
Yes, you will. I'll be there with bells on.
Hey, if you want to fly into Cincinnati, swing on by. Let a girl know.
I don't know. It depends on how you guys do this weekend, whether it's going to be a party
Touche.
or not.
Touche. I mean, who day?
Oh,
Touche,
no.
Sorry, guys. On that note, the red light's going, and
I'm surprised. You know, I gotta admit, I'm surprised you didn't bring up my sparkling Canadian racism.
Well, I started to when I said you have all these really offensive burns towards me. I mean, I guess I can say what they were. They're not actually offensive. This fucking guy just sat with me for a week. And I said it to John. I was like, you know, Joe called me this week. He called me a snowback maple sucker. Am I allowed to say that? I'm allowed to say it, right?
You're allowed to say it. That's why I told it to you, because I knew it would be like a brain infection in you, and you couldn't not say it.
Well, because it was a clever burn. Like, you can't help but laugh because it sounds so derogatory and so
really
rude,
does.
But it's very funny.
Well, I think when I called you the representative from the Moose Appreciation Society, that kind of got you.
But I was just like, well, I'm not going to change my.
But it's only because, as you know,
funny.
I love Canada. Some of my favorite cities are up there.
I know you love Canada.
I do. I'm a huge. I got my boys in Toronto. Have a good time up there. Vancouver, just that was, it's on the West Coast. That was kind of my first little foray up there. So I have a lot of fun in Canada, and to all my Canadian friends,
we're going to Canada soon. We've got like a big loop in Canada, so buckle up for. Let's go get some Caesars.
We get some ketchup chips, and we're gonna get some poutine.
I cannot wait. I'm so pumped. I need to like drop 5 pounds so that I can put 10 on.
I know. Well,
the math isn't right on that. But
so we get some smoked meat. Oh,
no, we're not doing Montreal.
Oh, we
do like Toronto, Hamilton, Regina, Saskatoon.
The salt of the earth Canadians.
Yes.
Huh?
Oh yeah. Oh, we're doing it. Yeah. All right, go swing your axe handles around or whatever weapons you have there, and I'll see you at TV.
Yes, you will.
Thank you.
See ya.